For more, let's bring in the great Katie Pavlich, editor at townhall.com and Fox News contributor. Katie, wonderful to see you. Tell me about the wall.
Great to see you, Larry.
Tell me about Title 42. Tell me about Mayorkas going on one of the, I don't know, evening shows last night, news shows, and saying it was Trump who tore down all the protections along the border. I mean, there's not a scintilla of fact on that. What you thinking here?
Well, first, Larry, I think it's really important to point out that the main mission of Border Patrol is to keep dangerous people and other capabilities out of the country and to specifically patrol the border in between points of entry to prevent that from happening. As a result of this administration's open border policies, Border Patrol no longer can be loyal and dedicated to its mission. Their mission now is to just process thousands of people who falsely claim asylum and turn themselves in. Now, when you talk about the wall, that's, of course, a deterrent that is used in countries all around the world to set up their border and to establish sovereignty. And I've seen these pieces of wall that you're talking about laying in lots in Arizona. You see photos of them in New Mexico and Texas. The material's there, and they're not putting them up. And you have Secretary Mayorkas going on television last night and saying the Trump administration destroyed the system. Well, then I guess there's two very different ideas of what an illegal immigration prevention system should look like. For the left and for President Biden, the system looks like building new facilities for processing where under President Trump, because he prevented people from coming here in the first place, those facilities were not needed because he wasn't using Border Patrol as a processing agency. He was using Border Patrol in a way that is dedicated to their mission, which is patrolling the border and protecting the country from dangerous people and things like fentanyl that were coming in on a regular basis before his policies. So that's the difference of ideology here in policy when he's accusing the Trump administration of somehow tearing down the system. It just means that he wants more processing abilities that the Trump administration didn't need because there wasn't this crush on the border that we're seeing now.
You know, Katie, I just don't think, and I'll get your take on it, I don't think the Bidens have ever cared about an open border policy, about illegal immigration, for whatever reasons. I don't think they care one bit about the health implications. I mean, it's as phony as a $3 bill. Either you have COVID problems, all right, in which case you would keep Title 42, or you don't have COVID problems, in which case you don't have to spend more money and, you know, have little kids in kindergarten still wearing masks. I mean, they won't deal with that contradiction either.
Well, the border issue, Larry, has always been totally phony when it came to COVID. They've allowed thousands of people at the height of COVID last year to enter the country illegally without being vaccinated, without being tested. They were putting COVID-positive illegal immigrants on buses and sending them into towns across the country. Don't forget that. Well, at the same time, they were preventing foreigners who were coming here legally, just to visit, from coming into the country on airplanes. And they're still doing that. I mean, you still have to test when you come into the country if you're not an American citizen. And so this idea that there's always been two different standards for illegal immigrants throughout the Biden administration with COVID have always been able to come into the country, whereas there's been a different standard for Americans, American travelers. I was on a plane just last weekend where the flight attendant was berating a father for not keeping a mask on his toddler while the 15-month-old kid was crying. And so it's not about COVID, it's about their ideology. And if you go back to the Biden campaign, President Joe Biden said repeatedly that he was fine with 3 million people coming into the country each year illegally, and that we could absorb that as a country. So elections have consequences, and this has been one of them.
Well, the cavalry is coming. I'm very hopeful on that. Katie, is it a terrific idea to give the illegal immigrants who come over here cell phones? Is that going to solve our problems?
You know, this is such an interest. This is like the Biden administration's way of saying that they're doing something to track these people who are coming into the country just disappearing. And there was an exchange yesterday with Fox News' Peter Doocy at the White House, where he said, aren't you afraid that these people are just going to throw these cell phones away because they're essentially tracking devices? And the White House said, essentially, you don't have any evidence that they would do that, pushing aside the obvious thing that they would do if they don't want to show up, because that's what people do. They get these notice to appear hearings, notices, and they don't show up. And the other thing that we heard today, after Texas Governor Greg Abbott said yesterday he was going to start busing illegal immigrants to Washington, D.C., which I think is a brilliant idea, is that the White House is not really fine with that, but they're fine with putting these people on planes and buses in the middle of the night and shipping them to your town, wherever that might be. The press secretary called Greg Abbott's move on that, statement on that, a publicity stunt. So when Texas wants to do it, it's a publicity stunt. But when the White House, through the Department of Homeland Security, wants to do it secretly with taxpayer dollars in the dead of night, that is sound policy, according to this administration.
You know, Katie, we have it here. I mean, in the dead of night, coming into Westchester County Airport, not too far north of the city of New York, nobody knows coming. Illegal immigrants show up. I mean, you know, in some sense, you hate to see it because you have some compassion for the illegals themselves. This is no way to treat anything, but it would be better if we had rules. Katie, one last point. You know, I love to talk with you about multiple subjects. When you were last on the show, we had a terrific conversation about why Joe Biden hasn't seized Vladimir Putin's $700 million yacht. Now, I have quoted you so many times about what Donald Trump would have done, taking the yacht, in fact, holding a press conference on the yacht and seizing it, and then renaming the yacht. I know you've had a lot of great moments, but that was one of your greatest moments on TV ever. So I can report to you, as you well know, a week later, the yacht is still there, okay? The yacht is still there.
Yeah.
He took a little rowboat, a $90 million rowboat, away from some minor oligarch. But the big guy, the criminals, the war criminals yacht is still there, Katie. I just think we should keep campaigning to seize Putin's yacht. That's all. Wanted to get your take on it, see if you've changed.
The yacht's in Italy.
Yeah.
The yacht's in Italy, and they got to pressure the Italians to do something about it. I did learn in my research that the people who work on the yacht are part of the Russian equivalent of, like, the Secret Service, so that's why they think it's Vladimir Putin's yacht. Nobody ever confirms that it's actually his, and so I think that the Italians have the ball in their court on this. But I have to say, I've been doing all this yacht research as a result of the segments that you keep having me for, and now I'm getting Google ads for yachts, and I don't qualify. Okay, I'm not a Russian oligarch, and I don't have that much money, so I'm getting all the yacht ads now.
Well, Katie, think of it this way. You seize the yacht, and then you answer all these paperwork questions later. That's the way I'll look at it. Okay? I don't know.
Well, I also read that people say that everyone's cleaning the yacht constantly. So the $700 million yacht is quite a lot of maintenance. So maybe that's why the Italians haven't seized it yet. It's too much work.
All right. We can put it in Department of Homeland Security. Anyway, Katie Pavlich, thank you very much for the update. Appreciate it. See you soon.